Good morning. I want to take just a moment to welcome all of you here. We are so grateful to have you with us here in person and online for this Easter Sunday morning. And I do want to encourage you, if you're a guest here this morning, to grab one of these blue cards from the songbook rack in front of you and just give us your name and number or email address. And as you exit out the back, there's a little silver tray you can drop in there. We'd love to be in touch with you after this Sunday morning and talk about some of the other things that we do here as a church. I also wanted to let you know, for those of you who are visiting, next Sunday morning we begin a new series called Work Out. It is a study of the book of James, a really thought-provoking book written by the brother of Jesus, who takes a lot of the teaching of Jesus and talks about here's what it looks like to work this out in your own life, to have a faith that is really working out for the good of the world. We'll be in this book for 12 Sunday mornings, and we would love for you to be part of that series as it kicks off next Sunday. Also, just want to make a brief word here about Friends Speak. I'm grateful for this morning and your opportunity to hear about that from Tyler and Tatiana. We would like your help in getting the word out to our community about this service that we're offering. And so as you exit just to the right there on our literature table there, you'll see some business cards and you'll see some flyers. We'd love it if you grab some of those business cards and just have them handy so that when anybody in your circle seems like, well, this might be something that they'd be interested in, you could hand that business card to them, or take some of those flyers to a laundromat, a library, or something like that in your community. Ask if you can put it up, and that way people in the community can see, oh, free help with conversational English. I'd like to call that number. And so help us get the word out about that. And then I just personally would like to invite you to be here on May 1st for that interest meeting. Your attendance at that meeting is not a commitment. It's just interest. We'll talk about what this ministry looks like and how you can be a part of it. What does Easter look like to you? What does new life look like to you? What does hope look like to you? I suppose if you asked me that question when I was a young elementary-aged student, I would have said that hope, new life, resurrection, Easter looks like this. Well, it's plastic eggs. It's chocolate candy hidden in my mom's backyard in Las Cruces, New Mexico. For me, Easter was just another candy-centered holiday in a line of candy-centered holidays. There was Halloween, and there was Valentine's, and there was Easter. That's what Easter looked like to me. Easter didn't look like this. My family didn't go to church. I mean, if anybody goes to church, you're going to go on the two big days of the year, right? Christmas Eve and Easter Sunday, but not us. Easter didn't look like this to us at all. It was just the bright, warm, southwestern sun shining down on a still brown lawn in a backyard nestled in the Mesilla Valley of New Mexico. Jesus was not a part of my picture of Easter. What does Easter look like to you? What does new life look like to you? What does hope look like to you? It's an odd question as we come to Luke one last time. We've been following Luke for 8 Sundays now, as slowly Jesus and Luke have been leading us to this very Sunday. And it's an odd question because Easter, resurrection, hope, new life in Luke's gospel doesn't look like what we expect. Let me go over some of those lines that Penelope read for us again. Verse 2, and they found the stone rolled away from the tomb, but when they went in, they did not find the body of the Lord Jesus. Verse 5, and as they were frightened and bowed their faces to the ground, the men said to them, why do you seek the living among the dead? Verse 10, now it was Mary Magdalene and Joanna and Mary, the mother of James, and the other women with them who told these things to the apostles, but these words seemed to them an idle tale, and they did not believe them. In verse 12, but Peter rose and ran to the tomb. Stooping and looking in, he saw the linen cloths by themselves, and he went home marveling at what had happened. It turns out that in Luke's gospel, Jesus is not part of the first Easter. Now, he's going to show up just a few verses later. But in this snapshot of Easter, this coloring page in the children's Easter coloring book of Luke's gospel, there is no Jesus. Shockingly for the women who've come to Easter and to this tomb with spices to anoint the body, the dead body of Jesus. Easter looks like an empty stone tomb. There is no body, living or dead. Easter looks like two figures arrayed in dazzling clothes with strange questions about the living and the dead. But there is no Jesus for them. Strangely for the disciples who've barricaded themselves behind closed doors, and to whom the women now report what Easter looks like to them, Easter sounds like an idle tale told by a group of women who don't know what they're talking about. A tragic indication of the patriarchy still rooted in the hearts of these men who followed Jesus for 3 years. And for Peter, who in Luke's gospel is the one who runs back to the tomb to see what the women are talking about, Easter looks like some linen cloths lying in place in an empty tomb. There is no Jesus. Now, we know that Jesus is coming. Just a few verses later, Jesus is coming. Just a few verses after this, we're going to see Jesus alive, preaching and teaching and walking and talking. And for us, that's what Easter looks like. For some of us, that's why we came here today. That's Easter, the defeater of death, the risen Redeemer, the one who rose to never die again, the vanquishing of all his foes now and forever. That's Easter. But not yet. Not in Luke's gospel. In Luke's gospel, at this moment, with this portrait, resurrection is a little opaque. New life is a little obtuse. Hope is a little uncertain. It's an empty tomb with no body. It's a strange tale from people we're not sure that we trust. It's some linen cloths lying there, an indication of a Jesus who was, but we're not sure what it says about a Jesus who is. And so on what should have been the best morning of their lives, these followers of Jesus go back home. They go back behind closed doors. This Easter doesn't erupt into a celebration, praise, and worship service. This Easter doesn't lead to preaching and teaching in the streets about the risen Redeemer. This moment doesn't result in a potluck around a table. This moment leads the first followers of Jesus back behind closed doors. There are signs, there's indications, there's the beginning. But there is no Jesus, not yet. So, what does Easter look like? What does resurrection look like? What does new hope look like? What does life look like? Earlier in March, I had the opportunity to help facilitate an interfaith prayer gathering. Christians, Jews, Muslims, all praying for the people of Ukraine. And one of the guests at this interfaith gathering was a journalist named Larry Kohler Esses. He had just returned from the border of Ukraine, where he had been serving Ukrainian refugees as they fled across the border. And Larry, the journalist, told us about one 10-year-old Ukrainian girl. She had lost everything. You can probably imagine it, even if it's very far from your own life experience. One recent cold winter night, her family had reached an excruciatingly difficult decision. It was time to go. And so with seconds, moments left, they grabbed what they could, leaving virtually everything behind: dishes, dressers, drawers, mementos, a life. A neighborhood they loved, a city they lived in, a home that was theirs. And they boarded 2 refugee buses filled with strangers and some people that they knew. And they drove on through the night across the countryside. On and on they drove, fearing Russian bullets, fearing Russian bombs, not driving to grandmother's house or a friend's house, someone they knew, someone they were certain would welcome them, someone with a place prepared just for them, driving and driving and driving to a border perhaps they'd never been to a city across that border perhaps they'd never been to be greeted by people they didn't know. And Larry caught those 2 buses filled with refugees as they crossed the border. And he caught them after they had been delayed across the border for 2 hours. For 2 hours after what must have certainly been one of the longest nights of their lives, they were delayed. Why? Well, because some of them, having to leave so much behind, managed to bring their dogs and their cats. And none of the hotels in this city across the border would allow them to leave the bus and take their place in the hotel unless they agreed to abandon the pets. And to Larry's surprise, 2 busloads of Ukrainian refugees stood their ground, even after this long night, even though doing so meant no hot meal, no warm bed, no hot bath. And they stayed on those buses for another 2 hours, refusing to abandon those pets. Why? I'm sure they love those pets. I'm sure it'd be difficult for me to abandon Dasher in that moment. But Larry said the real reason was that on that bus, on one of those buses was a 10-year-old girl. On both buses, there were children. And he took a picture of this one Ukrainian girl reaching out for a cat from the bus. It's not her cat. It belongs to one of the other refugees, but she's reaching out for it. And then he took a picture of her after she spent time with that cat. And here she is beaming as if she's back in her hometown at an outdoor park where her closest friends have gathered around her and they're now singing happy birthday. Here she is, having left everything behind the only life she's ever known, driven in a strange bus on a strange path at threat of death to people she doesn't know in temperatures that are freezing, and she is beaming. And Larry, the journalist, says that's why these refugees refused to abandon their pets. That's why they went without a hot meal, a hot bath, a fresh bed. They were willing to do anything to put a smile like that on a face like hers. And I think Luke might be telling us that's what resurrection looks like. That's what joy looks like. That's what new life looks like. It's not the end of the war yet. It's not the resolution of all that's been lost yet. But it is the beginning of something that promises to be far greater than we might have ever imagined. Here we are on Easter Sunday morning. And some of us are still fighting cancer, multiple sclerosis, chronic conditions. Here we are on Easter Sunday morning. We're 50 plus days into a war. Here we are on Easter Sunday morning. And later this week, some of us will be back in our therapists' offices, trying to deal with the anxiety, trying to deal with the addiction in our lives. What does Easter look like? What does resurrection and hope and new life look like? It may not be the end of these things, but it is the beginning of the end of these things. Kendra and I have been playing the word game Wordle. Any Wordle fans in here? A few of us. It's a simple word game online. Each day there's a word of the day. It asks you to try to guess the 5-letter word of the day. There are no clues given on the front end, but as you guess, Wordle will tell you if a letter in your guess word is one of the letters in the word of the day, and if that letter's in the right place where it should go. So you get some signs, some hints along the way. A few weeks ago, as we were getting ready to board an airplane in El Paso, Texas to travel back to Connecticut after visiting my mom in Las Cruces, New Mexico. No Easter eggs. I was playing Wordle, and so I started off with my usual guess word, and I think I got one letter right, the letter E, twice. It said it shows up in the word of the day. And then I tried my second guess, and I think I got one letter right, the letter R. So 1 R, 2 E's. Tried my third try. You get 6 chances. I don't think I had any luck there. And then the fourth one, and I don't think I had any luck there. I just stared at it for a long time. I couldn't figure it out. And so I put it away for a little bit, and then pulled my phone back out, looked at it again, and I thought, oh, renew. R-E-N-E-W. Renew. And what was interesting to me was that here we are in spring, flowers blooming, trees budding, renewal happening all around. The signs were everywhere. And I couldn't even see renew until it was spelled out right in front of me. Here we were on the way to Easter, just a few weeks away from Easter, a time of renewal. And I couldn't see the word until it was spelled out for me. In a way, I think that's what Luke is doing. He's not going to give us Easter and new life and resurrection and hope all at once. He's going to make us wait just a little bit for it. But along the way, he's going to give us signs and evidence and indication, an empty tomb, a story, some linen clothes, all his way of saying renewal is happening. Jesus is here. Resurrection has started. Hope has arrived. And so Luke is saying, look for the signs. They are all around you. It may not be fully spelled out for you, but the signs are here if you look for them. I want to invite you in these closing seconds this morning just to sit with this question right here. Where do I see Easter? I want to note that just in a moment at the end of our service, our youngest will make their way down the hallway to the office foyer and hang out there before we release them to go find Easter in those eggs. And I hope you all stick around for that. But take just a second right now to consider this question for yourself. Where do I see Easter? What are the signs that are all around me if I just look?